Good morning. So, had a lot of new followers here lately. So I figured I should probably reintroduce myself. So, as I'm getting ready for the day, I thought I would talk to you about who I am and what I'm about. My name's Cameron. I am a 39-year-old mother of 4, single mama. That's Winston. So, my dad was diagnosed with Alzheimer's in 2014. At the time, I was married, and my sister and brother and I had a conversation, and we decided that when the time came that I would be the one to care for him because I have a background in dementia and nursing, and so it just made more sense, And I had the desire. I wanted to care for him. So I had Ella, my 10-year-old now. I had her the next year. She started going to doctor's appointments with me. She was like my little mini caregiver intern. She helped me take care of Dad. She went to all his neurology appointments with me and him, yada yada. I was close enough distance-wise to my dad that I just went over there a couple times a day. Eventually, the worse he got, I started going over there every day. I would do his pills, his grocery shopping, cleaning, all of that stuff. Fast forward to 2022. The beginning of 2022 was rough. At that point, I had a camera in his apartment, and I was going over there multiple times a day, and it was really taking a toll on me, my family, him, everything. In January, February, March, probably March, or maybe April, May, I don't know. Anyway, one of those earlier months, we discovered that he had bed bugs. We had to do a full clean sweep of his apartment. And if you guys are familiar with dementia of any sort, any kind of big change really does something to them. At that point, it was clear that it was going to be best for him to go ahead and make the move, and it was time for us to move him in with us. So during cleaning his apartment for bed bugs, we just packed him up. We started getting rid of the excess, and we prepared him to come live with me. By that time, I had gotten divorced, and it was just me and my 4 kids, because I had a 4th kid by that point. So June 2022, we moved to a different house to accommodate him, and he moved in with us. I feel like I'm missing a lot of points to this story, but I'm trying to give you guys the condensed version because this could last an hour. Oh yeah, COVID was also happening during all of this, so that was interesting. I start to experience full-time caregiver business, Everything, I breathed, ate, and slept my dad, And little by little, I lost myself. Cool. So, anyway, I did that full time in my home for 2.5 years. And eventually it just got to be too much. He was roaming all night, no matter what kind of medicines we tried, they didn't work. We had exhausted all of our options for help to come in. I would have had to have paid out the wazoo to get a night nurse, and we couldn't afford that. He's a veteran, and he didn't have any savings, so I had always said that I would care for my dad in my home until he passed. Like, that was the plan. But as we all know, because we're human, life doesn't always work out the way You think it's going to. So, after much prayerful consideration and lots of going back and forth between yes and no and feelings of guilt and all of that, I decided it was time for him to move into a facility. Anyone who has had to make that decision before, you know, it's the hardest decision you could ever have to make. And if you haven't made that decision or if you haven't been forced to make that decision, you have no room to talk. Thankfully, my dad's a veteran, and he pretty much gets full care, with no cost out of pocket at the veterans home, and they have a wonderful memory facility. Fast forward just a little bit longer, he gets settled in. We moved out of the house that we moved into to care for him because it was way too big for just us. And we moved one town over, and I started a full-time job, and now I'm balancing working a full-time job, being a full-time single mom, and going to visit my dad and still care for him and advocate for him the best way I can from afar. So, welcome to the show.